Welcome to Business Line. In August, Egypt signed a $68 million contract with the New York advertising agency in order to help revive the country's tourism industry. It was said that over the next 3 years, the company would run a massive campaign in 27 markets around the world to promote Egypt as a prime tourist destination, and particularly to improve the view of the country's security situation. Egypt's efforts to lure back the visitors after the Arab Spring Revolution of 2011 started paying off before an airliner taking Russian tourists home broke up over the Sinai Peninsula. The promotional deal has been suspended and the events to launch it have been cancelled. In this edition of Business Line, we look at the tourism industry that was meant to be a pillar of Egypt's economy to answer the question whether the country has anything else to rely on. Euronews correspondent Mohammed Shaikhibrahim has been in Sharm el-Sheikh these days, seeing many tourists leaving the country, taking with them the hope of the local businesses.
Waiting for tourists who are no longer there. Business in Sharm el-Sheikh has taken a hit since the Russian plane crash in Egypt's Sinai Peninsula. The country's tourism minister estimates that the decisions by Russia and Britain to suspend flights to the Red Sea resort will cost the country around €260 million a month. This taxi driver says they're all feeling the pinch. Our situation now is very hard, he says. My colleague was complaining to me today that he's earned only €3. So how are we going to eat? How can we afford everyday household things? The crash, which international investigators say was probably caused by a bomb, hit a resort which is crucial to Egyptian tourism. The industry is worth 13% of the country's GDP. Russians account for a third of all tourists, 3 million of them, but suddenly they're absent from this and many other stores in Sharm. When the Russians start leaving, the owner says this affects us a lot. Since the plane crash, most Russians have left. Our trade is dead. Sharm's 180 hotels have seen occupancy rates drop since the crash. Now there are fears that Russians who'd already booked New Year holidays to the resort may move their trips to other destinations like Turkey. One hotel manager told Euronews, "This blow came suddenly. We were getting ready and making preparations for a good new season. We were expecting large numbers of tourists to come, especially from Russia. The numbers were starting to get better until the plane crash at the end of October. Then the booking rate started going down." Egypt's tourism had been recovering gradually since the Arab Spring. It's bounced back in the past. Now it needs to work hard to do so again.
Tourism was supposed to be a major part of the economic turnaround in Egypt. Visitor numbers had been recovering. Last year, almost 10 million visited Egypt. It's way less than over 14 million in 2010, the year before the Arab Spring. With help from the international advertising campaign, Egypt aimed at attracting around 11 million tourists this year to get to the target of 20 million by 2020. Statistics had been showing moderate growth, with 6.6 million people visiting Egypt for the first 8 months. Who are these holiday makers and where are they coming from? About 70% of the country's total visitors are Russians. They rank first with 3 million tourists per year, and Brits around 1 million. To make their stay as pleasant as possible, there are more and more Egyptians working in tourism. Will they keep their jobs and will they be able to earn? To discuss this, I'm now joined by our correspondent Mohammed Shaikhibrahim.
Hello, Sasha.
Mohammed, you've been in Sharm el-Sheikh in the past few days. What's the atmosphere among the local businesses? As the tourism industry in this area, it's not just hotels and operators.
In fact, what we have seen in Sharm el-Sheikh is the beginning of a real recession after Britain and Russia's decision to evacuate its citizens, who make up the majority of tourists coming to Egypt. Hotel occupancy went down in a noticeable level during the past few days, and some of the hotels closed already, while others demobilized part of the employment. The effect of this economic hit was evident as well in the workers in the transport sector, who are waiting for long hours these days to find passengers. We talked to several workers who said they might lose their jobs in the coming days if the situation stays like that.
After years of political turmoil, tourism in Sharm el-Sheikh had just started picking up again. Tourism generates more than 11% of the country's GDP, the GDP that the International Monetary Fund expects to grow by over 4% this year. Can the industry survive this hit, and can the economy overall be able to overcome it?
I think that the return of tourism to Egypt will take a lot of time, because this requires regaining the tourists' trust, and this depends first of all on Egypt providing security for the Western governments, including Russia, of course. The tourism sector is considering the possibility of compensating the lack of foreign visitor through the promotion of domestic tourism. For example, promoting and encouraging Arab tourists, particularly from the Gulf states, to come to Egypt. But the Gulf and domestic tourism is unsteady, and this is a big challenge for Egypt as well.
That was our very own correspondent, Mohammed Shaikhibrahim. Mohammed, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. Thank you, Sasha.
An unexpected story in our IT dedicated segment this time. With the Film Awards season underway, Giacomo got into the old movie mood to discover who got the Oscars for inventing for her discovery made back in the 1940s. This is it. This is IT.
Glamour and technology, beauty and intelligence, German submarines and wireless communications. How are all these elements related? The answer can be found in the incredible life of Hollywood legend Hedy Lamarr. This week, Google celebrated the actress once known as the most beautiful woman in the world with a dedicated doodle. Born in Vienna in 1914, she began acting in her teens, performing the first nude love scene in the history of cinema. Her racy and scandalous image never left her, even when she later moved to the US to become one of MGM's leading actresses. But Hedy wasn't just beautiful. She was also very, very smart. During World War II, she used what she had learned from her first husband, an Austrian weapons manufacturer, to help the US with the war effort. How to prevent Nazi submarines from stopping Allied torpedoes by jamming radio frequencies? With the help of musician George Antheil, Hedy invented a system to decrypt communications between a transmitter and a receiver. It used the code stored on a punched paper tape to synchronize random frequencies. This technique, frequency hopping, is known today as spread spectrum, and it is widely used in communications. Haven't you ever wondered why your Wi-Fi and Bluetooth frequencies aren't jammed by the ones from your neighbor next door? Well, you can thank Hedy Lamarr for that. That was it. That was IT.
And that was it for now. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week.